Okay, we are recording. Emma Richardson, hello.
Hello, how are you, Stu?
I'm all right. I'm all right. You good?
Very well, thank you. Yeah.
Where are you
Excited to talk
today?
about all these songs, actually. You've got me
Good.
going down memory lane with lots of these questions. Yeah, it's amazing.
Love it. Where are you today?
I'm in London today. Yeah.
Nice.
Just
Nice.
back from touring for a little moment.
I mean, how's that been? Let's
Yeah.
before we jump into songs, like how's that been? Like you're the first like British Pixie. You're a Pixie.
I know.
Like, how
It's
is
quite
that?
wild. It's been an incredible year. Yeah, I must say. I've It's been an amazing experience learning their back catalogue and playing with them live, and then this record just coming out. Yeah, it's pretty mind blowing.
Wonderful. Well, look, we'll get on to that and we'll get on to the new record and that a little later in the show. But let's kick things off the way we always do. And I'm going to ask you, please, to tell me the song that you think has the greatest ever intro.
Okay, so for this, there's so many I could have chosen, but I think the one that kind of just came immediately to my mind was "Walk On by Isaac Hayes, because I think from the moment I heard it, it just has this most incredible, dramatic, cinematic sort of string sort of arrangement, and it's got a real cool, fuzzed out guitar line that comes in. I mean, I think it's like a 2 minute intro before he starts singing, even.
Mm,
And from this record, like Hot Buttered Soul, I think there's four tracks and they're all about 10 to 20 minutes, some of them. So,
yeah,
but it just has like the best intro to an album and to a song, and it just oozes confidence and it just sits in the groove and it just has this kind of it, you pay attention.
yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
love
I
it.
mean, it's a beautiful, beautiful record, Walk On By. Literally performed by whoever does it, whether it be Dion or Stranglers, fantastic version of it as well. But they all just kind of smash it out of the park in like a 3 minute pop song. And but Isaac Hayes, it's about 12 minutes, right? And it just builds and builds, and I'm not sure if Portis had sampled the strings from that, but like it is absolutely huge, isn't it? And it just builds and builds, and then you get that vocal, and it's like, yeah, there we go. That's nice.
Yeah, the payoff. Yeah, it's
Absolutely,
beautiful, beautiful
absolutely.
song.
Well, I mean, what's interesting is if this is, I think, episode 560 of this show, um, and I would probably say I've had 10 guests that have chosen Pixies records for this question.
Oh, really?
Yeah, a few people have chosen. When I knew this was happening, I thought definitely had this. I've gone back and had a little check. I think about four people have chose Debaser, and I think a few chose Here Comes Your Man and Wave of Mutilation.
Right.
And I get it because they're all a million miles from what you've chosen. They're all short, stabby, urgent, straight to it.
Yeah.
Whereas Isaac's Hazy's a lot more sort of elongated and grand and. Um, but so where I want to sort of go with this is to ask you, in not just your current moment with Pixies, but just in general as a musician, when you make music, and we now live in a world where everything's very fast moving, attention spans maybe getting shorter. Um, do you ever make that a consideration when you're making music? And I guess framing that around the intro question, but in a world where Spotify and streaming services are awash with songs dropping daily, in their hundreds, does it ever make you sort of question, do I jump straight in with this intro and grab them in case, I'll do an Isaac Hayes and I might lose them before we get to the vocal? Do you know where I'm going with the question?
Yeah, of course, of course. Um, Personally, I think, I mean, with my old band and with obviously with Pixies, I don't think we've ever really worried about it or
Mm,
not let it affect the way we write or make music. And I think it's a dangerous game when you start pandering to these kind of new
mhm.
technologies sometimes, because it does affect the sort of, I don't know, how genuine it comes across. I think sometimes, I don't know, it's personally for me, we always used to have this thing in Band of Skulls, my previous band, where our thing would be like, if you go to a club night or a rock night or something, and like when a DJ puts on a song and there's that kind of, it's almost like a dance floor announcement moment where there's like a great riff and you know exactly what song it is, or there's a real cool moment when it's sort of an intro to something happens and you're like, right, put your drink down, get on the dance floor, you know. And then later on, you know, when the smoking ban came in, everyone would be outside having a cigarette and you'd be
Yeah,
like, right, what intro could you make to make it sound so exciting that you want people to come out from outside and watch
yeah,
the band? Or, you know, all these little hurdles. And now it's come to this point where it's like, you know, TikTok and streaming platforms and people, you know, wanting that immediate 5 second, you know, exciting moment.
yeah,
And it's, but I don't know, it shouldn't be at the expense of a great song, I think. And I think it's kind of that kind of cheap trick to glue you in, and then
yeah,
it's like, oh, there's no payoff, you know, or there's no. I
yeah,
think it's all about the kind of focusing on. I don't know how the songs don't kind of just happen like that sometimes where they all just appear, but sometimes they do. I don't know. It's like that idea of serving the song, making sure you're being genuine, being, you know, trying to write something which is honest or fun or
absolutely.
playful. But yeah, I don't know. It gets a bit of tricky when you start, yeah, writing for these kind of platforms sometimes. Yeah, I've
I do
never
think.
personally done that. Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't put Band of Skulls or the Pixies in that bracket, but I do think there's very commercial pop acts that probably go to these, European songwriting teams that put together this almost a science of what it takes to make the perfect pop song, and I do think that there is a market for that in certain genres and for certain audiences, but I kind of lean towards what you're saying. I think you shouldn't really compromise your art too much for trends, and you know, I think having a style is always going to outlive a fashion, isn't it?
Very much so. Yeah, I mean, there's always going to be something new and the hot new thing or the kind of the new way of doing things. But I don't know. If you've got to stick to what you feel is right. I think sometimes. Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. Emma, tell me the first song that you remember that had an emotional impact on you, please.
Yes. So I have picked Manish Boy by Muddy Waters because my dad had an incredible record collection and my mum. I was pretty spoilt with amazing amount of vinyl. They had my dad was really into blues. He had quite a lot of British blues artists, and also he had the American, like Black American blues players and musicians who had inspired these British players. So, and one of these records was Muddy Waters Hard Again. And I remember when I was first allowed to put a record on his record player and play it, when he trusted me enough, when I was old enough. Um, yeah, I kind of picked this one out of the rack and it looked really cool. And it was like, what's this, you know? And I just remember hearing that first kind of wail and the kind of the sound of it was incredible. It was, I think it was recorded live maybe as well. So it has that real energy to it, like this sort of ferocious like groove and stomp, and it kind of it oozes like desire as well. It has this real kind of energy to it. And it gave me chills, you know. I was like, what is this? I
Yeah,
have never
yeah,
heard anything like this. You know, I was listening to like the Beatles, Help, and the Beach Boys, and then I sort of stumbled across these blues records, and it was like that got me. I had like all my hairs went up on end, and it was like, wow, I want to learn how to do this, like make
yeah,
this feeling happen with a guitar or a bass or something. So yeah, that was definitely a moment of wow, and it opens the door, doesn't it? Then I sort of went down this sort of rabbit hole of discovering a lot of Chicago blues players and artists. And I mean, he had records from like John Mayer and the Blues Breakers and Paul Butterfield Blues Band and obviously the Rolling Stones and all these people who've taken inspiration.
yeah.
So he sort of going back and then you discover, you know, Son House of Robert Johnson and BB King and, you know, Etta James and all these amazing singers and players. So yeah, that was a real moment for me, sort of
And that's
discovery.
heavy old music for a young girl to be just
Yeah,
checking
right. I
out,
mean,
isn't it?
I didn't obviously did not understand a lot of what was
Yeah, yeah.
being sung about, but you know, you end up, you know, learning later on, and you kind of come back to it with, you know,
Yeah,
maybe a bit more of an educated, you know,
of course.
understanding. But I mean, just the feeling of that music, it kind of got me definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Where was growing up? Where was home then?
I was based in a little village just outside of Southampton, and yeah, we had my mum and dad had some great records, so I was very lucky to kind of yeah grow up with some great
Yeah.
artists.
I love that journey that I had with my folks as well. Of like, you have to kind of get to the right point before you're allowed near the holy grail that is the turntable.
Yeah,
And I could look, but I wasn't allowed to touch for many
yeah.
years.
Like you've got to prove that you're going to be respectful of this music,
Absolutely,
right? Yeah,
absolutely.
very much so.
Aside from there being fantastic records growing up around the house, was it a musical house insofar as instruments and stuff like that?
My dad used to play in a band actually. He played guitar, rhythm guitar in a band. They used to kind of cover Beatles and Stones
Yeah,
and blues music. And he always had there was an acoustic hanging around, but he never pushed me to play it. I remember when I think I asked him, can you teach me some chords at some point? Because I was
yeah.
getting into music and listening to bands, and I had a radio, and I used to tape stuff off the radio and try and learn them. So yeah, he taught me like three chords to start with, and I kind of got to grips with it. And then at some point, he decided he was going to buy an electric guitar because he used to have like electric and an amp, and he was like, "Well, let me get a Fender Squire, like a Strat, and black and white, my first guitar kind of thing."
Wow.
And a little Watson amp with a little red distortion button, and I I borrowed it, squealed it away to my room, and I'd make kind of feedback noises, and I couldn't really play it that well, so I was kind of making noise rather than anything. But
Mm.
then I kind of got to grips with it, and I was learning and writing my own songs, and it was a lot of fun, just
But that's cool though, right? Isn't it? Like, I mean, I know you're joking about the fact that you was messing around, getting feedback and making sounds and stuff, but that's cool, right?
definitely. My mum didn't like it, I'd be like, turn it down. But me and I've got two younger brothers, and we all kind of had a play around with it. And my brother, he's a really good guitarist, and it's like it's having that. I think when you have that ability to just try it out, and it's fun and it's playful and there's no
Yeah,
pressure sometimes to sort of play it. And you discover it for yourself, and you discover songs that you can then learn, or like writing my own songs. It was fun, that was sort of 3-4 chords, and the whole world was your oyster. You could sing about anything, and it was that sort of freedom, which I loved.
love it. Please tell me the song that reminds you of your time at school, please, Emma.
Okay, so I remember most prominently Salt and Pepper, like the female hip hop group.
Yeah,
Oh my god, just incredible. I remember being Shoop by Salt and Pepper was like one of the tracks that I remember. Like I think I heard it on the radio first off. I might have taped it, and then like at school it would be like everyone would like try and memorize all the lyrics and sing along. And but yeah, they were a lot of fun. I quite liked. I don't know. Again, it was quite a kind of. It's one of those songs about sex seem to keep coming up in my child. Like Jesus, it was like that kind of you know sort of being inquisitive. When you're that
of
age.
course.
And I love how I don't know the way they flip the script a little bit on the whole, female male gaze. It's like looking at the sort of male objectification thing. Obviously, probably wasn't aware of that,
Of
being
course, yeah.
at school, but it had that. I don't know. It was quite empowering to hear women, talking like that.
Yeah, they were different level cool. I mean, I'm super old, and I remember like when Push It first come out, and it was just
Yeah.
like, wow, what is this? And it like, and them tracks, Shoop, and Let's Talk About Sex, and Push It and stuff.
Oh man, with On Vogue, yeah,
Yeah, they hold up. They still sound like the minute you hear that opening call to Push It, it still sounds fresh as a daisy.
yeah.
Uh,
Super. So yeah,
tell me,
that was a fun. They were just fun, It was,
yeah, absolutely. Oh, can you hear me? Hey, Emma.
hey,
Oh God, I don't know what happened there. If you just
that's all
froze,
right. You
I
froze.
was
I was like,
like,
ah.
oh. Oh, I hope I haven't lost the first part of that. It says it's still recording. Right, you should be fine. You should be
Yeah.
fine.
Okay, cool.
Okay. Where was we at? We was talking about
Salt and
salt and
pepper.
pepper.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So we've had a little glitch there, so we're going to paste that back together. And we was talking about the song reminds you of your time at school. Um, did you have any idea when you was at school what you wanted to be?
I wanted to be a painter,
Oh, really?
which I sort of am as well, also as a musician. But yeah, I loved it in school. I That was like my favorite class. I always was painting and drawing. And I went to foundation in Winchester, did a year there, and then I went in got placed in Wimbledon School of Art in London to do a painting degree. I've always kind of balanced it with the music and had shows and made work, and so yeah, that's definitely been a big important part of my life. Yeah.
Was that sort of love of the creative arts always supported at school? Obviously, when you get to university, it's a bit more bespoke, and you choose to do that. But at school, was it supported?
It was. I mean, there was one art class, and everyone else seemed to sort of take it as a bit of a DOS class, just to mess about. And it's like, oh, we
Yeah,
got art, great, we can just, not do anything.
yeah,
I loved it. It was like me and a few others, we'd be at the table making work. And I don't know, there was something really exciting about. I had a great teacher, Mr. Mallon. He kind of looked like he basically opened the door to all these sort of worlds of different types of art from different countries, and he'd make us look at the Aztecs and the Egyptians, and then we'd be looking at Jackson Pollock, and he'd just discovering all these different you know styles of painting and sculpture, and so it was quite an exciting place, I guess. And it felt like the one thing that I kind of got a buzz out of doing. I mean, music was like the fun thing I kind of just played
yeah,
around with at home and with friends, whatever. But then, yeah, art was the thing I kind of went to school for in a way. Yeah.
yeah. And how? Just sort of bring me up to speed a little on the sort of where the musical journey started to maybe overtake the art in so far as career opportunities, and
Yeah.
when record deals start getting involved. Like, how did you go from sort of early bands in little venues to all of a sudden there's a record deal and things are looking quite serious all of a sudden?
I was, yeah, I met Matt and Russell when I was at college. So, and we were, I guess around sort of 17, 18. And yeah, we kind of started playing together, and it took a fair few years of us all like writing and playing a lot and cutting our teeth, um, to sort of get to the point where we were offered a deal and we were put in the studio, and it started become a serious thing,
Yeah,
Um, so yeah, after I left my degree, and I moved back home, and we kind of continued. I was sort of playing music with them throughout that time, and then yeah, we would kind of go on and play more shows up in London, and start touring more, and very exciting time of kind of writing lots of new songs, testing
yeah,
lots of stuff out, playing lots of live shows, trying to get better, and yeah, we were lucky enough to um, get a chance at being put in the studio with a producer, Ian Davenport, who's incredible to work with and very had an amazing way of
where was that was that in Oxford?
in Oxford, yeah, yeah, we in Courtyard Studios, um, which was a great experience. Um, but yeah, it kind of took off from there really, and you have to kind of you can't say no to that opportunity.
Yeah,
So yeah, it was pretty amazing. From then on, we ended up playing a lot of shows, supporting a lot of amazing bands, doing our own a lot of headline shows. We got to travel the world. We got to go to Australia and America, and it's just incredible. We made a lot of records together. So yeah,
tell me about, because obviously Banner Skulls had a hell of a lot of success, and from playing them sort of the toilet circuit like we all had to do, and then all of a sudden you get supports, and then obviously you then get some big supports, and you're playing to these huge audiences. How was you with that? Were you confident in them kind of environments? And I mean, obviously, it's now going to have gone stratospheric. Now you're playing in the Pixies. Like, I hope you don't. You hope you're confident in them arenas.
Yeah, it was a great test. I think
Yeah,
we always felt like a gang, like a team. So we had that kind of feeling of we're in this together. There's a sort of safety net of in numbers. There's three of
yeah,
us,
of
and we know
course.
what we're doing. We got good live sort of for a long time. We played for a long time, so we knew what we were doing, and like to have that opportunity to get out and reach so many people. Like some of the support tours we did were insane. We were playing with Queens of the Stone Age and Muse and Red Hot Chili Peppers, and that was like around our second album. So it was
Yeah,
to get a chance to show that play those songs to those audiences and expand the possible fans,
yeah,
people who might be into your band. It's
absolutely.
incredible. But yeah, I mean, it's of course it's nerve-wracking. There's always
Yeah,
that moment of just before you're about to walk on stage, and I still get it now. It's that kind of stomach drop, kind of complete adrenaline buzz. Like, am I going to remember everything? Is it going to go? Am I going to be able to do this? But it's having that kind of faith in your other band members. You're all going
yeah,
through it together, and it's that like gang going out there to kind of
yeah.
prove something, which was felt amazing. Yeah, always
Lovely.
amazing.
Can you tell me, please, the first song you remember buying from a record shop?
I taped a lot of stuff off the radio. So I think the first thing I actually went and physically bought, I think it was a CD single of Beck's Devil's Haircut. Because I remember just being blown away by that album. And
Yeah,
those singles really got me. And it kind of opened up that, then you kind of look back and it's like, oh, Mellow Gold, that album. But just the sound of that song, just incredible. Like, I love that the kind of sound of his like the sonics, the production, the like the break beats, the kind of like bass lines. I don't know. There's something like his weird sort of surreal lyrics. Just everything about it just was like, yes, I'm into this. This is
yeah,
the sound I like. And then you realize, later on, it's like the it was produced by Dust Brothers, and it had like that mixture of, it's like, oh, of course, there's links to all these other
yeah,
things now, and you know,
yeah,
and yeah, I loved how it had those softer tracks on it as well. That
yeah,
kind of real mixture of sort of emotions, sort of emotional, slower ones, and like really beautiful acoustic tracks, and then these real heavy hitting kind of
yeah.
break beats and kind of wilder songs. Yeah.
I think he really lent into that softer stuff a little while later in his career as well, didn't he? But like for
Oh,
me,
Sea Change and yeah, all those
yeah, yeah,
really beautiful moment
yeah.
records. Yeah.
But give me Mellow Gold or Odelay or what was the third album with um sex laws and stuff like that? Was it called? No, was it?
Oh, Midnight Vultures.
Oh man,
Yeah.
like did you see Beck around then?
Do you know what I missed? I think I saw him during, or maybe I did see him at a festival actually. I think I might have seen him at Reading Festival. And I remember him like wrapping the whole stage in like police tape, and the whole band came out wearing like cricket gear, and it was like it was the most amazing show. It's like that unpredictable rock and
Yeah,
roll
yeah, yeah,
feeling of like what's he going to do next?
yeah.
It's quite a cool
I think I caught him at
thing to
like
witness.
maybe V98,
Right? Yeah,
and literally they were all in like these white suits, and they just looked like fucking Temptations or something, and they
yeah,
were like all doing this sort of synchronized dancing. He was just being Beck and being nuts, and it was all the big brass sections. It was so cool. It was so cool. He was one of the coolest people on the planet back then, 100%. And that's
yeah.
you wrap
So many
yourself with
records
the
in a row that are just
yeah,
brilliant as well, right? Just yeah.
absolutely, absolutely. I asked you what the first record you was that you bought. Tell me a little about your relationship with the record shop. As you've got older, and is it something that you've has it remained part of your life? Is it something where you'll go and watch an in store, or tell me about your relationship if there is one with the record store?
Definitely, yeah. I've always loved going to record stores, searching through vinyl. Um, I yeah, we had like an HMV and a Virgin, and then I think FOP popped up, after a while. But they're in Southampton, my hometown, and so HMV was like the kind of, the church where you go and discover and find out all these,
Yeah.
find out about all these artists, and queuing up to get a new release from a band or something. It's like unheard of. And then I used to work in a record store when I was at uni. It was called CD Warehouse in London, and there
Yeah.
was like five branches at the end of the tube lines, and it was in Wimbledon. And yeah, it was great. I spent about a year or two working there, and I had my job was like stocking the top 40, every week, and um, we sort of recased old CDs, and um, but it was an amazing experience of working with people who were passionate about music, and they had this kind of spinning CD system, like five, six CDs, and there was a rule of like everyone had to pick an album each morning, or whatever, and they would all go in the player, and then everyone would have to listen to the whole thing beginning to end without skipping, and it would be a revelation of discovering all these new artists, because
So
people
cool.
put on things to try and impress each other, or so there was a real great kind of feeling of, I don't know, it's just discovery, isn't it, when you hear an artist, and then you kind of, it's that door opens into a whole world of them, and then who influenced them, and it was a very exciting time. I discovered so much music and spent all my wages on music in
Love
the
it. Love it.
but yeah, always sort of, if there's a record store in different cities when we're traveling, I go in and check it out. It always feels really like a nice place to go, and just hang out
Absolutely.
as well. And obviously, yeah, in stores and Amoeba Records in LA, walking in there for the first time and the expanse of
Yeah.
music. But yeah, it's very important part of my life. Yeah.
Emma, can you tell me the song that soundtracked your year's clubbing, please?
Yeah, I chose for this Peaches, Fuck the Pain Away, because she blew my mind when I first heard her music and saw her, and just like I've never seen her live, but there's something about her presence, her style, her kind of fuck you attitude. There's a real kind of I'm myself and deal with it, which
Yeah.
I love about her, and all her music is incredible. But I used to, when I was in London studying, I went to the Trash Club at the end
Hmm.
with the Errol Elkin used to DJ at. And so I heard like there was a whole new kind of exposure to loads of other bands that maybe I hadn't heard of, or
Yeah.
maybe I had, but it was a real mishmash of like, here I just had to write some of these down because I couldn't remember everything, but I was looking through, like there's a playlist that someone made for that era, and it was like, God, of course, it was like Too Many DJs, The Rapture, Liars, ESG, The Slits, like Fisher Spooner, Buzzcock, like The Kills, Justice, all these artists that, and going out and club. I'm not really like dance music clubbing kind of
Yeah.
house music fan, in that sense. But then it's having that mixture of like rock and roll and experimental and sort of dance music all in one place was really exciting at that time, anyway, for
It
sure.
felt, I totally agree with what you said there. I mean, again, I see I'm old, so I do remember the kind of 89, kind of crossover of indie and dance. But what Errol done, I think, at Trash there was he just caught a moment. And I think it just was the real big explosion of kind of indie dance stuff just crossing over. And it was so exciting. As you mentioned Justice, and there was all the kind of the stuff that was coming out on Ed Banger and stuff like that. And then all
Yeah,
the stuff that was coming on DFA and stuff like that. It was like such an exciting sort of maybe 3 or 4 years, and so many incredible bands come out of that.
yeah,
And he managed to bag so many of them to go and play at Trash
to
as
play
well.
there, yeah, just
Right.
amazing. Yeah, that was
Yeah.
a fun time. It felt like there was a kind of energy in the city, and yeah, I mean, there was loads of club nights. So, Madame Jojo's in Soho and the Metro. I mean, all these places don't exist anymore. It's
Yeah.
crazy. Um, but yeah, it was a lot of fun discovering new music and meeting people who were really into music and saying, "Oh, so and so's playing at the weekend," or "Have you heard of these guys?" And it was that real kind of excitement about it
Yeah.
all. Yeah, loved
Finding
it.
your tribe. That's so good.
Exactly, right? Yeah. I mean, I like a lot of different music, and that was like almost like a moment in time, with like that kind of world existed. It was
Yeah.
kind of, yeah, a bit of a moment.
Well, we've been clubbing, and I'm going to take you home now and ask you to tell me a favourite song from an artist from your home county, please, Emma.
Okay, I chose for this. This is the kit with a song called Earthquake, which is such a beautiful song. It's Kate Stables, who's the singer, and she's from Winchester. And I remember her going to open mic nights in Winchester at the Railway Inn, and me kind of taking my acoustic and playing songs, and everyone would take turns, and she would turn up occasionally and play. And her voice was just incredible. And she was like, if she was ever on the bill, everyone would be like a little scared to play after because she was so good. She'd play amazing kind of Joni Mitchell covers and just blow everyone out the water. It was incredible. So, you could see she had a talent then, and then
Yeah,
she went
yeah,
on and has been doing amazing things. But I just love this track. It's got a real groove. It's kind of simple, but it just has that hypnotic groove to it, and her vocal on it is beautiful. Yeah,
absolutely. They've had a great few years as well. It's
very
yeah,
much so. Yeah.
what a band. It's your last track. This is where you get to be a tastemaker, or as the kids call it, influencer, Emma. Um, I'm going to ask you to tell me a song that you think many people may not know that you would like them to hear, please.
Okay, a good friend of mine introduced me to this song, and it really got me. I don't know if it was like the time I was hearing it or something, but it's called "I Remember" by Molly Drake, and I did not know that this album or these songs existed. But it's Nick Drake's mother, and
Is that Nick Drake's mother?
yeah, this is Nick Drake's mum. So she recorded all of these songs in the 50s, I think it was. And I think her husband recorded it. It was like in the family home on the family piano. And her husband recorded her. And I think after obviously Nick Drake passed away, and then his back catalogue got more and more interest. And then I think these songs of hers were only released in maybe 2011 or 12.
Right.
Um, and but a friend turned me onto it, and this song in particular, for some reason, has this. It's such a kind of very English, sort of very beautiful, haunting vocal, and it's such a sad and beautiful song. The lyrics they really get you. She's sort of talking about this relationship where she remembers all these moments with her partner doing different things, or traveling, or adventures they've been on, or things they've done together, and the fact that she remembers it a certain way and he doesn't remember it the same way. It's kind of, he sees the kind of annoying things or the frustrating things about something,
Yeah.
and it's that kind of that, like, nostalgia, that kind of awful sadness of maybe a relationship ending, or maybe two people not seeing things the same way, or losing yourself in a relationship. And but it spoke to me. It's had that real kind of beautiful, like, effortless delivery. Her voice is just stunning, and you can see the inspiration from her on her son.
Yeah.
You can see the lyrically how he, because she was a
Yeah.
poet. She wrote quite a lot of poems, and I don't think they were ever released until much later on. So yeah, it just bowled me away. It was just, there was something really haunting and beautiful about her
Oh,
delivery. Yeah, it's
that's
mad.
blown my tiny mind. When you sent your songs over, I listened to that today, and I was so excited to just tell you how beautiful that record is. And I had no idea that that was Nick Drake's mum. That just adds even more beauty to it. That just
Yeah,
makes it so much more romantic. I love it. Love it.
yeah,
Um,
gorgeous song.
well, look, we make it easy for the listeners of this podcast to go and listen to that, as well as all of the other songs that we've spoken about today, Emma, because we put a little Spotify playlist together, and obviously on that we'll put Pixies on there as well. Um, so we've been talking a lot about lots of other people's music. So let's talk about what you're up to. So Pixies got a new record dropping,
Yes, The Night the Zombies Came is out now.
and it's out on the 25th, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
Uh, and is there going to be anything else happening around? Because is it 35 years? I don't want to say it's 35 years for Doolittle because that's going to make me really feel old, but it is, isn't it?
I think it might be. Yeah. Um, Yeah.
Well, now when you was talking about queuing up at a record shop to get it, I done that for Doolittle. God, I'm old.
But what a brilliant album, and it still has that punch, it's still got that effect.
Absolutely
Yeah.
incredible. Absolutely incredible. So what's happening then? So the album's out. And
The
so
album is
what's
out.
in the diary?
So next off, we are heading to Australia and New Zealand in November to support Pearl Jam and play a run of shows with them, which is going to be incredible in stadiums out there, which is not going to be another level. And then next year, there's some dates in the UK and Europe so far. So yeah, we'll be playing in Brixton, I think, in London. Yeah,
Wonderful.
around the
Can
UK.
I tell you my favorite Pixie story?
Please do. Yeah.
My brother runs a bar restaurant in Brisbane, and about maybe 6 7 years ago, Pixies played in Brisbane, and my brother, like me, is a huge Pixies fan, and I got a message from him saying about 3 hours before the show, Frank Black walked into my restaurant, sat at the bar on his own, and my brother pathetically said, "Oh, obviously recognised who he was," and pathetically went like, "So how comes what are you doing? You've got an American accent." But and he was just like, "Oh, I'm in a band." And my brother just had to just go, I know you. I'm sorry. Do you mind if I sit and talk to you?" And he was like, "No." And so my brother made him some lunch and they had a drink and stuff like that. And and the woman that was working for my brother was serving him. And and then as he went to go, my brother said, "Look, can I get you lunch? Like, this is just a real privilege for me to."
Yeah.
And he was like, "Oh, that's really kind of you, but like, can I give the money to the young lady that was bringing in my food?" My brother was like it's fine. This is all on me. Uh, and yeah, and as Frank Black left, he went over to the girl, and my brother said he just watched him just give all the money for the meal to this young girl, and this little girl was like, I'm like blown away. My brother's like, "Who said never meet your heroes?" He was like,
Yeah.
Frank Black's just come into a restaurant and just give this huge tip to this young girl that works for me. So it was absolutely beautiful. And
That is a very kind gesture. Wow.
yeah, I was just like, "Oh, I'm so glad." Like, you just worry when people just go, "Oh, someone that you really love just come into like, so I've just met them," and it's like, "Please don't tell me they're a dick. Please don't tell me they're a dick." And he was like, "No, he was absolutely lovely." So it was like wonderful.
He is a lovely human being. Yes.
Oh,
That's
wonderful.
such a great story. I'll have to ask him if he remembers.
And funnily enough, the last time I saw Pixies, I did go to the Debaser shows. Sorry, the Doolittle shows maybe 10 years ago,
Yeah.
which probably was 25 years. So I'm at Brixton now. But the last time I seen him was, I'm sure, supporting Pearl Jam at Hyde Park.
Right. Yes,
Uh,
they did, didn't they?
and
Yeah.
yeah, and for a 51-year-old man, there's not a lot better than seeing Pearl Jam and Pixies on the same day. That's a good day out, that
Good
is.
lineup. Yeah. I'm excited about it.
Emma, thank you so much for coming on and talking records today. It's been absolutely delightful. Thank you.
It's been a pleasure. It's great to talk to you, Stu. Thank you.
Oh, thanks, mate. I'm going to press stop. Don't go anywhere.